Good to have you with us this morning. Hello, I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. Coming up on today's broadcast of Business Daily. With hiring season in full swing, we take a closer look at the problems of rising youth unemployment. A shift in social media. More people are using these platforms to connect with people of similar interests or hobbies than to just establish personal networks. Korea's efforts to root out illegal fishing have paid off. The European Union has removed Korea from its preliminary list of countries engaged in illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Since Korea was put on the list in 2013, the government has implemented measures to curb unlicensed fishing by Korean-registered vessels. Some of them included requiring boats to have GPS tracking and placing extra restrictions on fishing vessels operating in seas off West Africa, where many illicit operators had been exposed. Back in February, the U.S. also removed Korea from its blacklist that names illegal fishing countries. The number of registered cars here in the country surpassed a record high of 20 million last year, pushing up the amount of daily traffic on the roads as well. The Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport said the volume of daily traffic on the country's main roads was at an average of 13,000 cars, up almost 14% compared to a decade ago. The amount of traffic, however, did not see a sharp increase despite cheaper fuel prices, with the annual growth rate slipping by roughly 1 percentage point from the previous year. Small and medium-sized firms are borrowing to grow. Data from the Bank of Korea indicated that loans extended to SMEs from commercial banks in the first quarter expanded nearly 3% to $482 billion, the steepest increment in 7 years. As the government is encouraging capital inflow, particularly to promising tech companies, the trend is not expected to turn around anytime soon. Officials want to ensure that a lack of collateral or financial capacity does not keep smaller firms from reaching their fullest potential. Shoppers are not really feeling the little gains the Korean economy has managed to make recently. That's the finding that's at the heart of a recent survey on consumer confidence. Our Eunice Kim is on this story for us this morning.
Government data shows consumer prices barely budged in the first quarter, but that's not the sentiment shoppers feel at the market.
Prices of vegetables are similar to those of last year, but products like shampoo and sugar, I think, are about 10% more expensive.
A recent week-long survey on about 1,000 people found a significant disconnect between what shoppers holding the cash are feeling and the realities as recorded by Statistics Korea. In the fourth quarter of last year, the Korean economy had grown by 2.7%, but consumers say they felt the economy had actually backstepped 1.1%. Flipping it around, they said prices on average seemed to have risen 3.3%, when in fact it had gained less than 1% in the first 3 months of this year. And that difference was perceived to be wider for households that are financially strapped.
Those who had the gloomiest sentiment were households that not only have a low income and assets, but also those that run on a deficit, and older families not ready for retirement.
As this sentiment is directly related to spending, this is a weak spot that experts are paying close attention to. There are calls for the government to strengthen confidence by reinforcing social safety nets to spur spending and investment at a time when the economy sorely needs it. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
Now, back in the days when we first met people and wanted to get to know them better, we would ask them what their hobbies are. But now, in the 21st century, there might be no need to ask, because niche social networks are allowing people to connect in very specific ways right from the beginning. Our Lee Ju-young has more.
While this may seem like a typical lunch scene, these employees from Vingle, a community-oriented social media platform, are holding a meeting to discuss some of the field's most popular with their current users. The Korea-based service has attracted over 100 million users as of mid-2014 since its establishment 4 years ago. In growing its user base, the company says the use of hashtags that allow people to easily become part of a niche group is what played a big role.
I think many people want to be involved in a community and hang out with those who have the same interests. I think that's why community-based social media platforms like ours are attracting a lot of attention.
This reflects a broader shift in social media in which members are using online and mobile platforms to connect with people of similar interests or hobbies, as opposed to focusing on establishing personal networks. Outside of Korea, social media services like Pinterest and Instagram have already managed to attract huge memberships. Other Korean social media are looking to do the same. Naver Band, provided by the country's largest search engine Naver, used to be based on an invitation-only membership. Now, it's making groups more accessible by giving them the option of being public.
We realize people now increasingly prefer community-based groups with specific themes, so we want to transform our services in a way that can accommodate those needs.
With the increase of such platforms, companies are expected to alter approaches in fields such as advertising and e-commerce to maximize opportunities for business through social media. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
It's that time of the year again when large companies here in Korea begin hiring, looking for young, passionate job seekers from all over the country. And despite the government and companies' efforts to increase the number of jobs, a large number of young people still remain unemployed. In a two-part series on this issue, today we look at the current state of youth unemployment and the causes behind it. Our Shin Se-min joins us in the studio this morning. Morning, Se-min.
Morning, June.
All right, so to start off, are more young people going to find more jobs this recruitment season?
Well, that's a tough question, although it may seem like a simple question. A simple answer to that would be not exactly, because right now there are way too many that are seeking jobs. And on top of that, a lot of conglomerates, large conglomerates, have announced this year that they would cut down on hiring, citing lackluster economic recovery. And recent data by Statistics Korea show that the unemployment rate for young Koreans between the ages 15 and 29 fell to 10.7% last month, or some 455,000 people, after hitting its highest at 11.1% in February. And if you look at this chart right here, Ji-yoon, this one indicates the annual change in unemployment. Since the number hit 7.5% in 2012, they have been on a steady rise, reaching 9% last year, showing that this isn't a problem that just erupted.
All right, well, let me recap some of the numbers again that you said. It was 10.7% unemployed youth last month, but then there's the unemployment rate and the real unemployment rate. What's the difference there?
Right, you have to understand the difference between the real unemployment rate and the figure I just showed you earlier. Now, the so-called real unemployment rate includes those who are preparing to get a job, or those who are underemployed, or those who have already given up looking for jobs. So if you add those numbers up, it way surpasses the figure, the official figure. And experts say that the real unemployment rate would be above 25 to 30% of the youth population. So it's a problem that burdens many Korean job seekers that they face, including this recent college graduate.
2 months in since Park Sara graduated from her 4-year college. With a degree in English literature, Park hopes to become a reporter, just like she had pictured herself after graduation. It's relatively early for Park to consider herself one of the thousands of young people experiencing unemployment, but already she feels the pressure mounting.
It never occurred to me that the issue of employment would be such a serious matter that would influence myself as well. But now, not only do I know, I sense the urgency and the desperation to get employed.
As an active young job seeker, Park says she never thought her talent and qualifications would not be sufficient enough to get her a working position. But seeing reality, she's doing more to prepare.
I've been studying Spanish because I needed to up my competition. It's like insurance. I'm not sure whether I have enough to survive, especially after seeing other friends going through the same procedure.
Like Park said, it is a problem countless others face because of a serious imbalance in supply and demand within the youth job market, with an overflowing number of highly educated potential workers and not enough quality jobs. And experts say that the youth unemployment rate, hovering above the 10% mark, comes from an accumulated number of jobless young people from over a decade.
The number of unemployed young people has been building up since the mid-1990s when an excessive number of highly educated people flooded out of colleges searching for jobs. And as there are those left unemployed every year, the youth unemployment rate only looks to mount at least for some time.
All right, so a lot of potential workers, but not enough quality jobs, like you said. Well, it looks like this will remain a problem in the foreseeable future, but where does the heart of this problem really lie? I mean, simply not enough jobs, like we said?
Well, a lot of it comes from a growing preference of young people trying to get a job in large conglomerates over small and mid-sized firms. And experts say that they point out that this attitude contributes to a greatly rising number of the unemployed.
Not every job in Korea requires college degrees. Young people need to understand that going to prestigious colleges and getting into a competitive conglomerate hiring track isn't the only way in achieving the quality of life they desire.
Now, this preference that job seekers have for large companies has other underlying issues as well. Now, employment instability at smaller companies leads young job seekers to focus their attention on large conglomerates as they provide a better wage, higher wage, and better welfare and more job security. And that's why a lot of experts cite that the need for measures to balance out the quality in large and small companies is a much needed info.
All right. Well, I guess at this point we need a constructive structural measure to help young people really bring out what they know and still find quality job. All right. Thanks for coming in today, Taemin.
My pleasure.
All right, that wraps it up for today. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.